and welcome to the Fertility Conversations podcast. The goal of this podcast is to create more awareness about infertility and to provide support to people trying to conceive. Thank you for listening today, and we hope you will be encouraged. And now, here is your host, Ola.
Welcome, everyone, to another episode of Fertility Conversations. Today, we are joined by Ajima, who is a Nigerian based in Belgium. She'll be sharing her details of her path to parenthood through surrogacy, and her details will also be in the show notes. So welcome, Ajima, and thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you so much, Ola, for having me, and I'm happy to do this. So yes, let's get going.
Yay! So please tell us a little bit about yourself to start off.
I am Ajima, as Ola as you've rightly said. I'm Ajima, I'm a Nigerian, and I'm currently based in Belgium. I am an architect and a fashion designer. Currently, I'm a stay-at-home mom to my beautiful daughter who was born about 7.5 months ago. Via surrogacy, I became infertile due to a medical error. During a myomectomy, the doctor mistakenly amputated my cervix. And so, my issue was caused by someone, and we were advised surrogacy was our best option. And so that's how I became a parent, and that's how I became an advocate for people struggling with fertility or infertility and, alternative paths to parenthood. And I'm again happy to be here and to share my story.
Thank you so much for sharing. I'm so sorry to hear that you had your cervix removed in error. I cannot imagine how that must have felt when you found out. So the surgery was for, what was the surgery for?
It was a myomectomy, so to take out fibroids. Yeah. But then we later found out that during that, he also mistakenly amputated my cervix. Took out my cervix.
Took out the cervix.
Yeah.
And how was it then when you knew at that point that you had to use a surrogate? How did that, what was going through your mind? Because, especially coming from Nigeria, how did you feel about the idea of using a surrogate?
So after we went back for a checkup, he said he couldn't find my cervix. He thinks it was blocked, like a regular check after the surgery.
Mm-hmm.
And he asked to come back on a certain day, and then he would put me under anesthesia and try to find the hole or the cervix, And then when I woke up, I had 4 holes on my tummy, and apparently it was a laparoscopy. So he told us he couldn't find my cervix, and then he referred us to a professor in gynecology at KU Leuven, which is one of the best university teaching hospitals, or even the best in Belgium. And so we went to this professor, and it was there we realized that I couldn't, get pregnant naturally or artificially, because the connection between the vagina and the uterus was gone. I remembered, at the point in which he said that, he said my best option was surrogacy or adoption. It felt like my whole world came crashing down, and I just started to cry. It was at that point that my husband and I realized the intensity of the situation we were in. It was a very difficult period. As an African and a woman, or first a woman and then an African woman, since we're kids or little girls, we're programmed to know that we're supposed to get married and have babies, while the men are meant to be the providers and the protectors and all. So, and it just felt like that had been my whole essence of being a woman had been taken away from me, I came back home, my phones were off for almost a month. I cried, couldn't sleep. I don't know if I would say I was depressed. Yeah, maybe. and after a while, then we traveled to Nigeria because I just couldn't believe it. And I was told the same thing. So it kind of, re-emphasized, or it kind of, I don't know how to put it, like made me realize what my new reality was at the time. Yeah.
Wow. And I said then earlier that, coming from Nigeria, just because, and how you felt about surrogacy, because I know that here in Nigeria, we don't speak about surrogacy. I'm sure it happens often, but it's just that we don't speak about it at all. And anything that seems different from the norm is highly stigmatized. So to have that as your reality then, and then moving forward with it. And now that you actually did pursue the surrogacy, again, another thing is that many people that might use that option, just because of how society is, they might decide not to tell anyone. And for you, it will have been perfect. I say that in quote because of where I'm trying to get to with this point. No one would have known that you used the surrogate, if you're just have a baby and come back to visit at any point in time, because you actually live in Belgium. No one would have known that you used a surrogate. So why did you decide to speak out and share that you actually did use a surrogate?
At first, I honestly didn't want to share because I felt that it was me exposing like myself, my vulnerable parts, and then letting people, dive in on it. And I was scared of being insulted or being, there's a way you're looked at if you can't have kids in Nigeria. It's like you're not fully a woman, you were promiscuous as a young lady, you had series of abortion, or you probably did something and the gods are punishing you, So, I didn't want to say it, but at a point I decided to, because I wanted, I feel like by sharing our stories, we encourage the next person, whether we know it or we don't.
Yes.
So I decided to own my story. When you own your story, nobody would use it to insult you. Like, this is my story and I'm so very proud of it. It doesn't mean that I don't sometimes wish that I carried my pregnancy. Of course, I would want to feel or experience that, but that won't happen for me. But at the same time, I'm blessed with my child. So I count on my blessings. I've been shown how much the people around me love me, because not just my sister-in-law, friends back home, my stepsister, my mom, everybody just wanted to help be my surrogate, right? So it just shows me how much I'm being loved. And I would say it's been more of a positive experience than a negative, in terms of, the help that I got, my support system, the people around me, the fact that now this has given me a voice to encourage somebody else, struggling. And also, I never wanted to lie. How could I pretend and put fake tummy to take a picture and deceive people that I did it when I didn't? And it will also be taking away the sacrifice that my sister-in-law made for me, she sacrificed so much, and then I'm gonna stand there and pretend that I carried my pregnancy. It just didn't feel right, and it just haunted me for a while until, my husband and I had the conversation, and he said, yeah, he doesn't have a problem. In fact, for him, it was best we did that, because then we would be honest to our daughter, because when she's growing up, she would ask questions, would be grateful to, my sister-in-law and my brother. And lastly, we never know who we're encouraging, who is struggling out there and we're trying to encourage. And it's our story, it's our journey. So we have to own it, Yeah.
Wow, I love that, saying that you own your story, because again, when you own it, people don't have any power over you anymore. No one can say, I know something you did, I'm going to tell if you don't do this, or whatever the case may be. And like you rightly said, you didn't do anything wrong. You know, you used you chose the path based on what your options were because of what happened in your case. And you have a beautiful, gorgeous daughter now.
Yeah.
Thanks to your surrogate who was able to help make that happen. So why be ashamed of that? So it's really, really, really beautiful that you share the story and you speak out and you advocate, because knowingly or unknowingly, lots of people here in Nigeria, and I'm sure across the world, are watching and have seen that and have been inspired by your bravery and your vulnerability, for coming out, for speaking out. Because again, many people are in that situation, maybe not necessarily the exact same one that happened to you in terms of your cervix, but they have different issues that have arisen why they need a surrogate. So them hearing you speak about openly will encourage them to know that it's not a bad thing to do. It's not wrong. No. Right? And they're different paths, right? It doesn't make yours any less just because it's different.
Yeah.
So going back to actually finding a surrogate, when you were told that you had to use a surrogate, how was that? Because I don't know how it is in Belgium, but even here in Nigeria, it's very expensive. I've heard in some cases, some people saying like 8 to 10 million naira, which is, depending on the exchange rate, could be in the 20 something to almost 30,000 US dollars. So having that as your reality, what did you think was going to happen to get a surrogate?
When we had, we needed a surrogate, then we started to, research, because you hear surrogates or, celebrities, Kim Kardashian, Gabrielle Union, I think Sarah Jessica Parker, Juliana Rancic, those people have they're celebrities, and you hear their stories, and a surrogate, was involved and she carried the pregnancy. But we never knew, or I never knew more than that. I didn't know what the process was. I didn't know it was expensive. I didn't know nothing. It's like now when people ask and I say, oh, I had my baby via surrogacy, it's expensive. They're like, oh, wow.
Yeah, exactly.
Like sometimes you never know until you've walked in that shoes. It's just not your cup of tea.
Yeah.
So then we started to research, and by the time we contacted surrogacy agencies, and by the time the bills came, I told my husband, I said, man, we're screwed because we cannot be parents. Now, in Belgium, surrogacy is altruistic, so it's free, right? It's not, it's a gray zone. It's not black and white. It's not like America, which has a legal framework. No, the hospitals decide, and you can't pay a surrogate. It has to be done by a close family or friend. The surrogate is the legal parents of the baby. And then if she's married with her husband, and then you have to file for adoption. So no contracts, whatever, it's null and void. Wow. So then, that was why we began to search America. And then it's expensive. Then we began to look for options in Nigeria. And then, it wasn't like I went asking, but when I shared with close family and friends, everybody was like, I want to help, right? Two of my very good friends, my stepsister, my mom. So now, the thing was, so we thought about coming back to Nigeria. However, based on the Belgian law about the surrogate being the legal parent, it meant that our child would be Nigerian. And then getting the child back to Belgium would be an issue for us. Because one, you need a visa. Two, you need them to either recognize the child or give you a visa. Two, surrogacy does not have a clear legal framework, which meant the child is a Nigerian and not your child, but the child of the surrogate, which meant that the embassy will file it under adoption, and they probably will not even, because based on one of the conversations we had with the visa or one of the consulars in the embassy in Nigeria, he told us if we wanted to adopt, based on their law, I think we had to be in Nigeria for 6 months or 1 year. Oh, wow. And then, they can even say no when you get to the embassy. And if the two parents of the child, the child are alive, then you can't even adopt. So it's very, very complicated. And so, and because I didn't grow up in Belgium, we couldn't even find an option in Belgium, right? Because I don't have girlfriends, and there are a few cases of people still battling in court because the surrogate changed their mind after they had the baby and they can never win. We just, it was like we were in a fix, and whatever direction we looked, even though for me, I wanted to move back to Nigeria, like even if it was Cambodia, China, Alaska, the place where it's very cold, I can't remember, that they go for research, Antarctica. As far as I had a child, it was fine for me. But my husband gave me a different perspective by saying it will be unfair to the child because our child deserves the best of both worlds. So he wanted to fight that the child be recognized as a Belgian as well. And so we stayed here and tried to figure out how we could either afford America, because with America, the passport is strong and we can come back in here without a visa. And then when we get in here, we begin to fight for our child to be recognized as ours, know. So we began to research options of going to America or being able to afford the cost of surrogacy in America.
Yeah, in America, the cost, usually you hear about $100 and something to even $200,000. Just another level.
Yeah. It's just sad that, some people get married and it works.
Yeah,
Then some other people have to spend like thousands of dollars, just to have a child. It shouldn't. Yeah.
That's what we thought when we were younger, right? Just like, when you're ready, you just go for dinner, maybe get drunk, you and your husband, and then hey,
you have sex and boom,
the baby is here. But I didn't even know it had happened. I was too, you just, and then the reality, you're like, oh no, wow, it's not that easy.
No.
For some, anyway. For some, it's still as easy as that, but for many others, it's not really that way. Wow. So when you got the offer from your sister-in-law, that must have been amazing to have that in the midst of all of this.
It was humbling.
Yeah.
It made me feel loved. It made me feel blessed. It made me feel, special. Not everyone gets, the opportunity of somebody offering, to put their life on hold, not knowing what would happen at the end of the journey, and sacrifice and give you this, I came across a post on Facebook in the surrogacy group I'm on, where the lady posted that her dear friend who was a surrogate died while having the baby. Yeah.
Oh no.
Yeah. So surrogates are they're angels, like they're superhumans, You never know what will happen at the end of those 9 months, but you go in just wanting to help, and no amount of money that you pay surrogate can equate to the risk they put on their lives.
Not at all.
I would just say it that way.
Yeah, such a selfless thing to do. We're so thankful for your sister-in-law.
Yeah.
For your blessing now.
Yeah.
Your daughter. Thank God.
Yeah.
How will you see this whole experience, going through infertility? I mean, infertility that was caused by a medical error, but the whole experience, how will you say that has impacted you as a person, and how has it impacted yourself and your husband in terms of your relationship?
I would say at different stages, it was different, experiences, First, like I say, for me, I went through the 5 stages of grief, Yeah. From, I can't remember the steps in which they come, but then there was denial, anger, bargain, acceptance. Yeah. So it was all that for me. It also made me question why me of all people,
Yeah.
I Googled a lot about missing cervix and I couldn't find shit. So I didn't even understand, the situation. I was angry. I was so angry, it's like a part of me has been taken away, and a part of me, which, well, I can't see or feel, but a part of me that was meant to play a vital part in me becoming a mom was taken away. So for some while, it felt like I was empty inside, like I was dead, and I tried, it also sort of affected my relationship with my husband, because I felt like he just wouldn't understand. Like, I'm a woman, he's Belgian, he's Caucasian, and they can wake up and decide, oh, we don't want kids. I haven't met one Nigerian who has said, I don't want kids. I haven't. And I just felt like he just couldn't understand, like I wasn't fully a woman, and he was patient. And he kept on trying to make me understand that we were in this together. It wasn't my journey, it was our journey, right?
Yeah.
It affected our relationship. Not that we were fighting a lot. Of course, we had our fights, but I was sort of in my own wall. Like I closed, everything. Like I closed myself. I built these walls, and he just couldn't get in. It became more like we were roommates instead of like a married couple. Like, there was no intimacy. There just wasn't, like, our house wasn't, I would say our home wasn't, it didn't feel like a home anymore. It just felt like, okay, so why am I even here if I can't even, give you a child, And then again, because my cervix was taken out, sex for me is very, very painful, because I don't have what do they call it? Like, I'm very dry most times. Right. And exactly. So everything just became more like I was like, I don't know, can I say forced, or how do I even say it? I don't know how to put it. So yeah, apart from me not being able to carry my pregnancy, it felt like I couldn't, perform my marital duties, Right. I was always bruised and bleeding. It felt like we were just two people living in a house, even though, like, he was still himself, like, being my support system, loving me through it all, being patient, with me. And when I'm having those, outbursts, he's just there and patient and not getting, like, angry. And he gave me the permission, and he was patient to let me go through all those while, like, he was here, not saying much, but from his body language and everything, you can see that he was saying, I'm here for you, and take all the time you need. Like, I'm here for you. We're going to walk this through together, whether we have a child or not. But then that also offended me, like, well, I want a child, How can you see whether we have a child or not? Like, so why are we married? Is it just to have sex? Cook, eat, and go? Like, for me, like, but now I view things differently. I'm learning to be happy while going through the journey, right? Because all those years of hurt and pain and resentments and anger, like, we can never get them back. of course, I'm not saying don't feel, I mean, it's important you feel or you go through all your feelings, but, and take time, because if not, then, it's just going to keep being like somewhere, and then it will keep coming out, from time to time. So, yeah, I would say I'm in a good place now. I have my down moments, also, in terms of my relationships outside my husband, like with family, they've been super supportive. With friends, I've been blessed, and some friends have been, we've gone our separate ways.
Yeah.
Not because they are necessarily bad people, but because at the time, they didn't understand my journey, right? It felt like I wasn't happy for them, or I'm a jealous person, and, at a point I had to, choose that my peace of mind was best. But now, like, sometimes things happen and I realize if you haven't gone through that journey, you would never fully understand, the intensity or the toll of how that can affect, another, and I'm learning to be patient with people, but at the same time, I'm learning to cut people off. I'm learning to find people who, understand and who genuinely will be there for me, like through thick and thin, and while I will do the same, Yeah.
Well said, Ajima. So many words you said there, really. And I'm so thankful for your husband for being so patient and understanding and letting you get through.
I told him I don't think we would ever get divorced, because if we didn't while going through that, then tell him you're stuck with me for life.
Amen. Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Such a beautiful story. How did you guys meet?
We met online.
Oh, wow.
On a dating app. Yeah.
Thank you for dating apps.
Yes.
Thank God for that.
Yes. Because
many times we don't think that, at least here in Nigeria, people don't really.
I know at least 5 people, Nigerian women, who have met their husbands.
Living in Nigeria or living outside Nigeria?
One living in Nigeria before she moved, and then the others here. Wow. So, yeah. And the thing with me was I moved to study in Italy, and I'm not an outgoing person. Like, my friends or people who really know me know, like, I like the comfort, or I would say the comfort of the 4 walls or the 4 corners of my house. So I like to have people around. I like to talk. I like to chat, but I'm not an outgoing person. So, and it was a new place for me. And a friend, or the only other Black girl in my school, when I saw her, I was so excited, and she was smiling. And I'm like, yeah, in the whole building of maybe 500 students were just, 2 Africans. And she is African American. And we got talking, and I'm like, oh God, I don't have friends. I'm always stuck at home. I don't know what to do. And I don't like to go out. Plus, I hate the cold. So, and I moved in winter. So I would not. Yeah. So why go out when it's freaking cold? And she was like, oh, try Tinder. And yeah.
And there you are.
Yeah. Yes. yes.
Oh man, I'm gonna keep that in mind. Tell my single friends.
Yes.
Or like, hey, Tinder, check it out. It just might work for you.
Yes. Two friends actually just got engaged here in Belgium. They are both Nigerians, and they met their husbands on Tinder.
Wow.
So yeah.
Yeah. That's good. I'm going to tell my mom about that, actually. I don't know what my mom will think. Because really, what's different?
Oh, that's your friend. Yeah,
I know. But because back in their times, many times it was like parents or aunties that hooked them up with people anyway, right? It was all this hook up. So, what's wrong with trying something new?
Oh, and by the way, he's the best decision ever. He's one of my best decisions. So it does work. For somebody who is willing to give it a try, you have to be patient and swipe and swipe and swipe. But,
but the right one
it's like a full-time job.
Oh my.
Yeah.
Interesting. Thank you for sharing that with us. Ajima, for someone that is listening and or just general public, what do you think what do you wish they knew about surrogacy? Like what are some things that you feel that people just really don't understand that you wish they knew? Or what would you like to say to the society that some people have perceptions about surrogacy not being quote unquote the normal way ethical. And all of that, yes, and all of
I would say don't rip yourself of true joy and happiness and peace because of what somebody else thinks, right? Don't do that. Nobody has walked in your shoes, right? It is important that you get to that stage on your own, right? Because people suggested it at first and I hated them for it because I felt it wasn't their place to say because they were already lucky, either pregnant or, having kids or, and when I got there myself, so you can try and, what I would say to friends and family of people struggling with infertility, don't just go out and say, oh, go for surrogacy, go for adoption, go for IVF. No, you listen. By listening, you will know where that person is, at that point, and then you can offer some of this advice. But so for me, again, is do what will make you happy. People will talk at the end of the day, but you're the one who goes back into your house or your room and truly knows what you're going through. So do you. Surrogacy is amazing, a friend of mine told me, who actually went through infertility herself, told me, oh, you're so lucky you're not going to get pregnant because you get to keep your figure, you don't add weight, you don't have to push a baby out, your vagina will still be the same size and shape. And, that was something very, very hurtful to say, because how dare you say that to somebody else? But, well, I get to keep my whole, let's, I would love to experience pregnancy, but I'm not dwelling on what I can't have. I'm dwelling on what I can have, right? My experience with my daughter is, we're inseparable. I love her dearly. I don't know what pregnancy feels like because I've never been pregnant, but I also don't remember that I didn't carry her pregnancy. I was told by few friends, one, God bless his soul, that it didn't matter what people thought. It doesn't matter the path to parenthood. We are parents, and when you accept that within you, then that's all that matters. So yeah, and I would encourage everyone to try as much as possible not to lie about their journeys, embrace it, embrace it. Nobody can use it to insult you. We're grateful for science. We're grateful for these options. But if you look around you and you know how many people have had babies via surrogacy or IVF treatments or IUI, you would be shocked. So, embrace your journey. Also, learn to know who to share your story with and who not to, because some people make you feel like you're a princess or you're a queen even while going through your struggles, and some people make you feel less of yourself. So always surround yourself with people who encourage you, and lastly, just know that it can go either ways for the surrogate. So they are sacrificing so much. Be grateful. Before now, I used to say, oh, the surrogates are so, selfish and demanding and all that. But man, it's with my story and how it ended for my surrogate, with the one I just mentioned now, that died while delivering a baby, how I wonder what the intending mother feels, or the intending parents. When they look at that child, it will always be a reminder of the sacrifice somebody made for them and in the cost, So, we have to also learn to they are not like surrogates, most especially in Nigeria, are not like people who, because, of how our economy is, you're not doing them a favor. They are doing you a favor. They are putting their lives at risk to give you this wonderful gift that you can't give yourself. So just learn to be patient. Pray for them while on the journey and after the journey, and for me, again, it was important that my child knows how she became. I won't want her to read it on the internet someday, or, find, nothing can be hidden under the sun. So, so that's why, again, I'm open about my journey. There are books in which I've gotten for her that we can go through them while she's growing up, so she understands, because it's also important for my husband and I that our daughter grows up with love and sacrifice in her, because if not for these two, we never would have had her. And not just love for my husband and I, and possibly a sibling when we have one, no. Beyond our family, beyond the extended family, and like to people in general, a stranger on the street, because again, I've never been pregnant, but I don't think, even if you pay me $1 million, I won't do this for somebody. I don't think, with everything I've seen and I've experienced. So surrogates are angels. They are superhumans, and we need to appreciate them. And even if you pay, it's not a job. It's a sacrifice. Yeah.
It is. Well said, Ajima. Thank you.
Thank you.
If you could go back to your younger self, to 18-year-old Ajima, hanging out and having fun, maybe university here, just chilling, what would you tell her, knowing what you know now?
You need to calm down. You need to calm down and don't, make plans. Well, it's good to make plans, but I remember my best friend and I, when we were in the same class in university, and I always wanted to get married early, 25, 26. She said she would at 32, 33. And I always made fun of her, saying my kids would be her page boy and her little bride. And and I remember when we turned 30, she called me and she said, "Babe, what's up with those little bride and page boy?" And she still, every time we talk, she still jokes. And well, she's not married, so hopefully Imani will still be her little bride. But at the same time, take things easy, and know that there are options should, in case it doesn't happen for you naturally. Don't beat yourself, about it. It's okay to be sad and cry and all, and importantly, my fertility wasn't, like natural, or, it was man-made.
Right.
So I will encourage every 18-year-old or even less to just go and have general checks. You need to know your body, what's happening inside of you, so that if there's a situation or if there's an issue, then it can be tackled, ahead of time.
Yeah.
So, and again, you don't marry and just have kids. You have to be lucky and blessed for that to happen for you immediately, so, yeah.
Well said. And as a wrap-up, Ajima, any quotes that you have found really helpful during this journey that you'd like to share with us?
Yeah. My story is my power, or your story is your power. Own it, embrace it, and that has been that's been it for me.
Very powerful. We need more of that. Yeah, go ahead.
One more, if I can add.
Of course.
It doesn't matter your path to parenthood, you just are one.
Thank you so much, Ajima, for joining us on the show today. It's been a pleasure having you on, and thanks for inspiring us all. We love everything that you're doing, everything you advocate for and enlighten us all about. So thank you so much. And for reminding us that we should all own our stories and it's our power. So thank you. And we look forward to having you again in the near future.
Thank you. And thank you for having me. It was a pleasure. And yeah, thank you.
Thanks.
Thanks for joining us this week on the Fertility Conversations podcast. If you enjoyed this podcast, please give us a 5-star rating and subscribe. Follow us on Instagram at Fertility Conversations. If there are any topics you would like to have discussed, please send an email to fertilityconversations@gmail.com. Be sure to tune in next week for our next episode. Thank you again for listening. Take care of yourself and do stay hopeful.